The massive alien ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. Admiral James Walker stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, Earth's newest battleship, watching the sensor readings with a slight smile. "They think they're making first contact," he muttered, sharing a knowing look with his crew. Earth had been watching the Galactic Council for over 50 years. Their arrival wasn't a surprise. It was expected. The alien vessel, representing the Galactic Council's diplomatic corps, transmitted what they thought was first contact protocol. Their message, broadcast in multiple frequencies, declared peaceful intentions and offered membership in their grand coalition of species. Earth's response wasn't what they expected. "This is Admiral Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. We acknowledge your presence and remind you that you have entered restricted space. Maintain your current position." The alien ship froze. Their sensors suddenly detected hundreds of human vessels decloaking around them. Ships that, according to their intelligence, shouldn't exist. Earth was supposed to be a pre-spaceflight civilization. The Council's lead diplomat, Lord Reed, stood on his bridge in shock. His gray skin had turned several shades paler as he watched the tactical display. "Impossible," he whispered. Their technology level was assessed at barely industrial age just 10 years ago. His science officer frantically analyzed the human ships. "Sir, their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Their hull composition, we can't even identify the materials." On the Defender, Admiral Walker received a transmission from Earth Command. "Proceed with Protocol 7, the message read." He nodded to his communications officer. "Council vessel, Walker broadcast, you are cleared to proceed to Earth with an escort. Any deviation from the prescribed course will be considered a hostile action." The Council ship found itself surrounded by 4 human vessels, each one larger and more imposing than their own. Lord Reed had no choice but to comply, his mandibles clicking nervously as they proceeded toward the blue planet. The journey to Earth revealed more surprises. They passed massive orbital stations, shipyards building vessels that dwarfed their own, and defense platforms that made their most advanced weapons look like toys. When they finally landed at the International Spaceport in Geneva, Lord Reed and his delegation were escorted to the United Earth Council chamber. The room was filled with representatives from Earth's nations, all watching the aliens with knowing looks. "Welcome to Earth," said Director Thomas of the United Earth Council. "We understand you have an offer for us." Lord Reed tried to regain his diplomatic composure. "Yes, the Galactic Council extends an invitation to join our Federation of Species. We offer guidance, technology sharing, and protection." "Protection?" Director Thomas interrupted, raising an eyebrow. "That's an interesting offer, considering we've been protecting your outer colonies from the swarm for the past 20 years. The revelation hit Lord Reed like a physical blow. "The swarm? But how do you know about them?" "We know many things, Lord Reed. We've been watching, learning, and preparing. Your Council's approach to governing developing species is concerning to us." The alien diplomat's hands trembled as he realized the full implications. They hadn't discovered Earth. Earth had been studying them all along. "Then you'll join the Council?" Reed asked hopefully, trying to salvage something from this diplomatic disaster. Director Thomas stood up, his expression firm. "No, Lord Reed, we will not. The Council's methods of forcing younger species into submission, your technology restrictions, your so-called guidance, these are not practices we wish to be associated with." As the human's words echoed through the chamber, Lord Reed felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't first contact. This was a revelation that would shake the Galactic Council to its core. Humanity wasn't just another species to be absorbed into their federation. They were an unknown power that had been silently watching from the shadows. And now, they were ready to step into the light. The meeting ended shortly after, leaving Lord Reed and his delegation to return to their ship with the devastating news. As they departed Earth's atmosphere, escorted by the same intimidating human vessels, one thought kept repeating in his mind: The council wasn't ready for this. They weren't ready at all. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was in chaos. The massive circular hall, with its soaring crystal spires and floating platforms, echoed with angry voices from 100 different species. High Commander Marcus stood before them, Earth's chosen representative, wearing a simple black uniform that contrasted sharply with the ornate robes of the council members. His presence was commanding, despite being the only human in the room. "This is unacceptable," bellowed Council Leader Max, his metallic scales reflecting the chamber's light. "Earth must join the council. It is the natural order of things. All spacefaring races must be regulated." Marcus watched them with calm eyes. "And if we refuse?" The chamber fell silent. No species had ever simply refused council membership. It wasn't done. It wasn't even considered possible. "Then we will have no choice but to impose sanctions," Max declared, his voice carrying across the chamber. "Your systems will be blockaded. Your ships will be denied passage through council space." Our ships." Marcus interrupted, allowing himself a small smile. He touched a device on his wrist, and suddenly the chamber's massive display screen came to life. The council members watched in growing horror as images appeared, showing human outposts, bases, and colonies spread across hundreds of systems, many deep within what they considered council space. Some of these bases appeared to have been established decades ago. "Impossible," whispered one of the council members. "We would have detected." "Would you?" Marcus asked. "Like you detected our ships watching your borders, or our probes in your cities, or our agents among your populations." Another council member, an ancient being named First Speaker, leaned forward. "These images could be fabricated." Marcus nodded to his aide, who distributed data tablets to each council member. "These contain coordinates. Feel free to send your ships to verify. Though I should warn you, some of these bases are under our active camouflage systems. Your sensors won't detect them unless we allow it." The chamber erupted again, this time with fear rather than anger. Species turned to their neighbors, whispering frantically. Some were already calling their homeworlds, demanding immediate verification. "You've been spying on us," Max accused, his scales now a pale shade of gray. "We've been observing," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference. We needed to understand what kind of neighbors we were dealing with." First Speaker's ancient voice cut through the chaos. "And what have you concluded?" Marcus walked to the center of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "We've concluded that the Council, while well-intentioned, has become a tool for suppressing developing civilizations. You don't guide. You control. You don't assist. You dominate." He turned slowly, meeting the eyes of various council members. "Earth will not be controlled. We will not be dominated. We are willing to engage in trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements, but we will do so as equals, not as subjects." "You leave us no choice," Max declared, trying to sound authoritative despite his obvious fear. "The Council will vote to." Marcus cut him off by walking toward the exit. "There's nothing to vote on. Earth's position is final. We've already established our territories. We've already built our networks. We've already made individual agreements with 17 of your member species." The chamber exploded into chaos again. Species representatives turned on each other, demanding to know who had made secret deals with Earth. At the doorway, Marcus paused and turned back. "One more thing. We've detected 3 emerging civilizations in the sectors you call unexplored space. We're already protecting them. They will develop at their own pace without interference. Consider this our first contribution to galactic peace." As the human delegation departed, the council chambers descended into panic. Representatives rushed to contact their homeworlds, others demanded emergency sessions, and a few simply sat in shocked silence. First Speaker watched them go, his ancient eyes filled with wisdom and worry. "We thought we were going to offer them membership," he mused to himself. "We never considered they might not need it." The Galactic Council's worst fear had come true. They had found a species they couldn't control. Or rather, that species had found them first. The Council's top spy, Agent White, moved silently through the crowded spaceport on the trading world of Port Haven. His adaptive camouflage made him nearly invisible as he tracked his target, a human merchant ship that had docked 3 hours ago. After 2 months of failed intelligence gathering, the Council was desperate for any information about human capabilities. But everywhere they looked, they found only more questions. White watched as the human crew loaded their cargo. Simple trading vessels, the Council had thought, until one of their best warships tried to scan one up close and found its sensors completely blocked. His communicator vibrated. Agent, priority message from command. White ducked into a shadowy alcove. Report. We've lost contact with Observation Post 17. All 12 stations in that sector went dark simultaneously. White felt his blood run cold. Those stations were supposed to be undetectable. They used the Council's best stealth technology. Cause: unknown, but we detected a human warship passing through that sector yesterday. White ended the transmission and looked back at the human ship. Its crew continued their work, seemingly oblivious to any surveillance. But were they really? In the Council's Central Intelligence Headquarters, Director Stone stared at the latest reports with growing dread. Another intelligence team had vanished while trying to infiltrate what they thought was a minor human outpost. The outpost had simply disappeared, along with their agents. Director, his assistant called from the doorway. You need to see this. The main display screen lit up with a star map. Thousands of dots appeared, spreading across Council space like a web. What am I looking at? Stone asked. Human quantum communication relays, sir. We finally managed to detect them. They've been there for at least 30 years. Stone sank into his chair. 30 years. While the Council thought humans were just discovering spaceflight, they had already built a galaxy-wide communication network right under their noses. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Black watched the Council's futile attempts at espionage with mild amusement. They're trying so hard, his intelligence officer noted, watching the feeds from their quantum sensors. Can you blame them? Black replied. We've upended everything they thought they knew about galactic politics. A red light flashed on his console. What's that? Council ships approaching Research Station Delta. His officer reported. They think they finally found one of our secret bases. Black smiled. Should we let them find something this time? Already done, sir. Station Delta activated its visible mode. They'll find exactly what we want them to see. In deep space, 3 Council warships approached what their sensors showed as a small research station. Their commanders were excited. Finally, some real intelligence about human capabilities. They found an abandoned station, filled with outdated technology and basic research equipment, exactly what you'd expect from a developing civilization's first steps into space. As they excitedly documented their discovery, none of them noticed the massive underground complex beneath the station's surface, where human scientists continued their advanced research, protected by fields that made them completely undetectable. Back in the Council chambers, the latest intelligence reports caused even more panic. They're everywhere, one member whispered. They'd been watching us for decades. But why? Another asked. If they have this kind of technology, why didn't they contact us sooner? First speaker, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Because they were studying us, just as we study developing species. The difference is, they learned from their observations, and they decided we weren't ready for contact. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. In his hidden observation post near the Council chambers, Agent Jack of Earth Intelligence listened to their reactions with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. He sent a brief message back to Earth Command. Phase 3 complete. Council intelligence assets successfully misdirected. Proceeding to Phase 4. The message traveled instantly through the quantum network humans had built decades ago, while the Council still relied on conventional communications that took hours to cross the galaxy. The balance of power wasn't shifting. It had shifted long ago. The Council was only now beginning to realize it. The Council's combined fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 500 warships, representing the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, moved in perfect formation toward Earth. Fleet Admiral Gray stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Council's most powerful dreadnought. "Send the message," he ordered. "To the government of Earth. Your continued refusal to join the Galactic Council cannot be tolerated. This fleet represents the combined might of 50 species. Surrender your sovereignty or face the consequences." On Earth, in the Global Defense Command Center, General Smith watched the approaching fleet with perfect calm. Around him, his staff monitored screens showing the positions of Earth's hidden defenses. "Should we show them our fleet, sir?" his tactical officer asked. Smith shook his head. "No need for that. Activate Project Mirror." Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum generators hummed to life. They had never been used in actual combat before. There had never been a need. Admiral Gray's first indication that something was wrong came when his fleet's formation began to waver. "Sir," his navigator called out, panic in his voice. "We're losing positional control. Our drives are responding to commands, but we're not moving where we should be." Gray watched in horror as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Ships veered off course, their crews unable to control their movement, but there was no indication of what was causing it. "Status report," he demanded. "No damage, sir. No enemy ships detected. No energy weapons. We just can't control where we're going." In the space around them, the laws of physics seemed to have gone mad. Space itself appeared to be folding and unfolding, creating impossible distortions that sent ships spinning in random directions. "Full power to engines," Gray ordered. "Break free of whatever this is." But the more his ships struggled, the more entangled they became. It was like fighting against a tide that wasn't there, a force that couldn't be seen or measured. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The fleet found itself arranged in a perfect sphere, each ship facing outward, unable to move. A transmission reached them on all frequencies. "This is Earth Defense Command to Council Fleet. Your ships are currently held in a quantum stasis field. They will not be damaged, but they cannot move until we release them. Consider this a demonstration." Gray's hands gripped his command chair. "Impossible. No civilization has mastered quantum field manipulation on this scale." Another voice cut in, older, filled with authority. It was First Speaker himself, broadcasting from the council chambers. "Admiral Gray, you are ordered to stand down. Return to council space immediately." "But sir," Gray protested, "our mission has failed before it began." First Speaker interrupted. "Look at your long-range sensors." Gray did, and felt his last hope vanish. Throughout the solar system, massive structures were becoming visible as they dropped their cloaking fields. Space stations, shipyards, defense platforms, and ships. Thousands of ships, each one more advanced than anything in the Council fleet. "They could have destroyed us at any time," First Speaker continued. "They chose not to. Do not make them reconsider that choice." The quantum field released its grip on the Council ships. As they turned to retreat, a final message came from Earth. "We understand you needed to try this, but now you understand why we choose not to join the Council. We will not be threatened. We will not be controlled. Return home, and let's discuss a future where we can work together as equals." The Council fleet fled in disarray, their perfect formation forgotten in their haste to escape. In the Defense Command Center, General Smith watched them go. "Send word to our outposts," he ordered. "Operation Humble is complete. The Council should be more receptive to diplomatic discussions now." Was it necessary to reveal so much of our capability? His tactical officer asked. Smith smiled. "We revealed exactly what we wanted them to see. They still don't know about our real defenses. Above them, Earth's quantum shield remained invisible and undetectable, protecting the planet as it had for the past 50 years. The Council fleet had never even gotten close to actual Earth space. Sometimes, the best show of force was showing just enough to make your point, while keeping your true strength hidden. The Council's grand meeting hall had never been so empty. Where once 500 species had gathered, now barely 200 remained. The others had sent messages expressing their temporary absence from Council proceedings. First Speaker watched as yet another delegation quietly left the chamber. Everyone knew where they were going. To the new human embassy that had opened on the station's upper levels. "We cannot allow this to continue," Council Leader Max declared, his scales now permanently faded from stress. "They're fragmenting the Council." "They're doing nothing of the sort," First Speaker replied calmly. "The humans are merely accepting individual diplomatic missions, as is their right." In the human embassy above, Ambassador Wilson was meeting with his 10th delegation of the day. This time, it was the Trade Federation of the Outer Rim, a group of 30 species who controlled most of the galaxy's shipping lanes. "Your stealth technology," their representative began eagerly. "We would be very interested in a trade agreement." Wilson smiled politely. "Of course. Though I should mention we've already been protecting your shipping lanes from pirates for the past 15 years. The alien diplomat blinked all 4 eyes. "You have? Indeed. Did you never wonder why piracy in the Chorus sector dropped by 90%? Or why the notorious Red Band raiders suddenly disappeared?" In another part of the station, Council intelligence agents watched helplessly as more ships arrived, each carrying representatives eager to establish independent relations with Earth. "The merchant guilds have broken away," one agent reported. "They've signed an exclusive trade deal with the humans." "The scientific consortium too," another added. "Apparently, the humans offered them access to their quantum research facilities." In the lower levels, in a quiet bar far from the diplomatic sections, 2 alien traders shared drinks and whispered conversations. "Have you seen their ships?" one asked. "Not the military vessels. They're civilian transports. They cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks." "My cousin works at a human medical station," the other replied. "Says they can cure diseases we thought were terminal. And they share the treatments freely." Throughout the station, similar conversations were happening everywhere. Species that had lived under Council rule for centuries were suddenly discovering there were other options. Back in the Council chamber, Max was still trying to maintain control. "We must stand united," he declared to the dwindling audience. "The humans are trying to divide us." "No," First Speaker interrupted, rising from his seat. "They are showing us what we have forgotten. The Council was formed to unite species, not control them. To share knowledge, not restrict it. To protect the weak, not dominate them." He walked to the center of the chamber, his ancient voice carrying to every corner. "I have received an invitation from Earth. They are proposing a new form of galactic cooperation, one based on mutual respect and free exchange of ideas. I intend to accept." The chamber erupted in chaos again, but this time different. Species representatives were rushing to contact their governments, eager not to be left behind. In his embassy office, Wilson received the news with satisfaction. On his desk lay hundreds of requests for technological, medical, and scientific cooperation. Earth had spent decades preparing for this moment, developing technologies and solutions that would benefit all species. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Outer Rim Federation has officially withdrawn from the Council. They're requesting immediate establishment of diplomatic relations." Wilson nodded. "Send them our standard welcome package. Include the data on the pirate bases we've been monitoring in their territory." The aide paused. "Should we tell them about the protected species we found in their space?" "Not yet. Let's handle one revelation at a time." As the station's Director Hall of the Earth Intelligence Service stood before the assembled representatives of 50 former Council species, the conference room on Luna Base 1 offered a spectacular view of Earth rising over the lunar horizon, but no one was looking at it. All eyes were fixed on the holographic display, showing hundreds of protected worlds scattered across the galaxy. For the past 70 years, Hall explained, Earth has maintained observation posts near these developing civilizations. We've prevented exploitation, guided their natural development, and protected them from outside interference, including interference from us, a former council member noted quietly. Yes, Hall acknowledged. Your mining corporation's attempts to establish operations on 3 of these worlds were quietly discouraged. The aliens in the room shifted uncomfortably, remembering mysterious equipment failures and inexplicable navigation errors that had plagued their expansion efforts. But that's not why we called this meeting, Hall continued. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching galactic space, something the Council's sensor network isn't advanced enough to detect yet. The hologram shifted, showing a massive object moving between galaxies. In a hidden research facility beneath Europa's ice, Dr. Miller was showing another group of alien scientists the true extent of human technological advancement. This is our quantum computation center, she explained, leading them through rooms filled with machinery that seemed to bend reality itself. We established this facility 40 years ago. 40 years, one alien scientist gasped. But the Council's best minds are only now theorizing about quantum computing. Miller smiled gently. We know. We've been reading their research papers. Some of their theories are quite innovative, just limited by their assumptions about what's possible. In another part of the facility, teams of human and alien researchers were already working together, sharing knowledge that the Council had previously restricted. Back on the Council station, First Speaker was reviewing files that Earth had just released. Each revelation was more shocking than the last. Human research outposts in the heart of Council space, monitoring stations that had watched Council species for decades, technological achievements that should have been impossible. But what truly caught his attention were the protection protocols, detailed plans for defending younger species, helping them develop naturally without exploitation or interference. It was everything the Council had claimed to do, but actually implemented effectively. We had it all wrong, he muttered to himself. We thought we were the guardians of galactic civilization. His aide, who had served him for decades, looked up. The new Galactic Assembly Hall on Mars dwarfed the old Council chambers. Representatives from over 800 species filled the vast amphitheater, including 200 newly contacted civilizations that Earth had been protecting. First Speaker, now serving as the transitional coordinator, stood at the central podium. The past 6 months had transformed galactic civilization more than the previous 1,000 years. The old Council is officially dissolved, he announced. In its place, we established the Galactic Cooperative of Free Species. All members have equal voting rights. All members have equal access to technological and scientific knowledge. High above Mars, massive shipyards were already implementing the changes. Ships from